Welcome back to another episode of Sacred Wild Man. My name is Roy, and today I wanted to share some inspired thoughts around men trying so hard to get women to like them. And the message is, stop trying so hard. And of course, this is easier said than done because it has taken me such a long time to learn this, and sometimes still having to draw myself back when I notice that angsty sort of neediness, like, maybe I ought to try this or try that. Because ultimately, I find that when we as men try so hard, what are some strategies? What are some ways to get a woman to like me, to see me more favorably? Ultimately, what that communicates is a lack of faith and a lack of trust in who we are, in our own desirability, in our own charisma and irresistibility. We don't feel settled or grounded or content within ourselves. And so we must try and put on all these different hats to win a woman's favor. And while we look out into nature, we might certainly see examples of this, such as with peacocks or plenty of other creatures, where oftentimes it's, if you just think about it with birds, the male has all these colorful feathers, all these different ways in which to win the attention of a female. And if we're just to look at it from a primal lens, so let's for a moment pretend that none of the peacocking is actually about a sort of higher level of love beyond the physical, beyond the primal desire to mate. Then that's all it is. The louder you are, the more colorful you are, the supposedly more attention that you'll draw, and that will be the method to ensure you can carry on your progeny, that you can mate and have offspring. Now, if we were to work with just human beings, I think there is a different level of love available to us. Some have called it sacred union or divine union, whatever you want to call it. But it goes beyond just the primal biological desire to mate. There's something else there. And I think that is where this topic comes in. That's where it's not really about trying and having all these strategies to peacock, to be liked by a woman. But it has something to do with deeper embodiment and presence and enjoyment of oneself, enjoyment of yourself as a man. And there's three sort of examples of men that I can think of where each of these men, or maybe there's four examples, I'll just see whatever comes off my head, who have different strategies for trying to get a woman to like them. So one is the nice guy. This is the one I am most familiar with because I've lived a majority of my life this way, which is I will love bomb her. I will try to show that I am super thoughtful. And those are kind of the primary ways. Bending over backwards, doing things that she never asked me to do to win her favor. Okay, I don't believe I myself am enough. But if I do all these things, then she must like me, right? Because these are things that any woman would want, or perhaps have said that they want. And it comes from a very anxious and needy place. Then you have your pickup artists who have these certain strategies for, all right, this is how you want to speak to a woman. You touch it a little bit, give her attention, and then you turn your attention away. Because when you do, she's going to want to get your attention because she's like, where was it? So I must really get this man and chase after him. and various other strategies. Then you might have the, let's say, more traditional guy, maybe very rigid in his ways, when he will say, it's my way or the highway. Perhaps his way of sort of trying too much would be, I gotta have everything together. I gotta have my whole life, all my shit together. I gotta be, a powerful CEO. I gotta be able to do all these things. There's nothing I'm ever going to leave her to have to do. And so he's scrambling to try to be this perhaps impossible man, although it's possible. It just comes at the sacrifice of himself. And then you can have your spiritual new age guy, which kind of similar to the nice guy, very heart-centered energy. I'm going to be so available to this woman. I'm going to be available to my divine queen, who is most definitely my twin flame in a past lifetime. All these different things. I'm just going to be so heart-centered and so holding of all of you. I welcome all of you. I have no problems, no boundaries, none of that. I'm just all so loving. None of these things, right? These personas, these characters, in my opinion, none of these things reflect a man who is assured within himself, that he knows what he's about, he knows what he's willing to put up with, what he's not willing to put up with, and he can stay rooted in himself in that way. So ultimately, he's not concerned about whether a woman likes him or not. What this man knows is that I like this woman. I want her. I want to engage and connect with her, sexually, emotionally, however else, spiritually. I know that about myself, and I'm going to let her know that I like her, that these are my intentions with her. And then she is free to say yes or no. He brings in his aura, his presence, his fragrance, engages. Does she like this? Is she into this? And if she likes it, then yeah, we can move a little bit further. But if she's not feeling it, then great, I'll keep moving on. And that's this idea that Zan Perrion talks about. He wrote a book called The Alabaster Girl, and he has a lot of lectures and talks, interviews on YouTube. And something that I love so much about what he says is he puts invitations out into the world and he leaves them there. Whether or not someone responds to his invitation, that's on them. But he sends those invitations out and then he keeps moving on. Because in his words, money, people, women, they have to catch up to me because I'm going. And that really shifted my perspective. Because before I had always thought, well, if I don't get a favorable response from a woman, if she does not like me, then I need to do more, right? To finally get that approval, which is very much based on a lot of the mother complex that I grew up with, and how so many men are conditioned in our day to really seek mommy's approval and project that out also into women. And also our culture, especially in the West, the messages further affirm that. And so how this shifted was that now when I approach a woman, I am more able to announce my intentions. And then in one specific instance, I told a woman, I would love to take you out on a date. She said yes, and then she said no the next day, which obviously was disappointing. But I told her, of course I'm disappointed because I was really looking forward to our date. It's still a standing invitation. I would still love to take you out, but I'm going to leave it to you to let me know because I can't read your mind. And I got my stuff to focus on, I'm going to keep moving forward. So you're going to need to let me know. And doesn't mean, I can't or you can't as a man continue to flirt, continue to hang out with her, rub up against her and just see what the feeling is like, what the chemistry is like. But you're not dependent on her approval. And you certainly don't need her to give you permission to enjoy yourself and enjoy yourself enjoying her. That's something key that I wrote down just this morning in my journal, is that for the longest time, I struggled to allow myself to enjoy the fact that I enjoy a woman. Sensually, sexually, emotionally, spiritually, physically, however else. I couldn't allow myself to feel those things, and I couldn't allow myself to see her, or I couldn't allow myself to let her see me enjoying her. Because I thought, well, perhaps this is inappropriate. With a lot of the messages that men get these days, is that, even saying, you look beautiful today, could be misconstrued, could be interpreted as offensive. And so we start to shut down, as men, shut down our pleasure, shut down the fact that we enjoy beauty and enjoy beauty within women. And this has been a huge disservice to all of us. And we are all responsible and culpable for it. And so the alternative that I recommend to men is, rather than focusing on trying to get a woman to like you, to pay attention to you, to see you favorably, first enjoy yourself. Because at a base level, if you don't even enjoy yourself, you don't enjoy your own company, you can't work with the variety of emotions you experience, and especially the ones that you find most disgusting or most difficult. If you cannot be with those parts of you, there's no way anybody else, there's no way a woman is going to be present with you in those moments, right? Because you have already abandoned yourself. So it always starts within. Can you as a man be alone? Can you as a man work just with the possibility, or even just imagining? Let's say you never end up with a woman in a relationship that you deeply desire. Can you still be okay within yourself? Right? Can you bear the ache and the longing and the yearning and still come back to, this does not mean there's something wrong with me. This longing and ache that I feel is not an assessment of a failure of character. It is simply a reflection of how deeply I feel, how deeply I long, this desire that lies within my heart. And I can work with that. I can allow myself to feel it. I can let it break me open, crack me open, and through that find myself at a whole new level of ability to love myself, love the world, love on others. I think that's where so many men struggle. And I get the desire to, you have so much love that you feel you want to give. Right? Traumas and projections aside, if we work with this base level of the masculine desire to give, to love on, then it's a perhaps excruciating burden to feel you have to bear. That I have so much that I want to give and there's nowhere to put it. Right? Because a woman has every right to say yes or no to you, because she doesn't owe you anything. So what do you do in those moments when you're with yourself? When a man is alone, and he can be alone, and he can be with the wide array of his own emotions, then he will reach a different point where he can actually be with and enjoy his own presence. as you enjoy yourself more as a man, you can then enjoy yourself out in the world and enjoy yourself enjoying the world. And so now when you're rubbing up against a woman, when you're interacting with a woman, it's no longer about, well, how can I get her to see me favorably? It's more so, I really enjoy this woman. There's something about her. The way she moves, the way her hair rests against her face, her fragrance, or how she smiles, right? How her eyes just reach into yours. You can enjoy all of that. It's a very sensual experience. And because you enjoy yourself and you enjoy her, there's no longer this fear of allowing her to see that you enjoy her. And once again, you leave it in her court. She gets to decide, just like hummingbirds decide with flowers. Do I like the fragrance of this flower and the nectar here? If so, I'll partake in it, but if not, I'll move on to a different flower. You just get to be you and see how she responds to you. And I think this is a much more relaxed way of being about in the world and being about in the world of women. There's no longer this trying or this efforting. It's more so a being. And that will help any man stand out from the sea of men who are like, all right, I got a peacock, now in front of a whole bunch of women, and then there's all these other men I'm competing against. All right, I got to be top dog here. How do I do that? I think moving forward, that is going to be a very outdated way of living in the world as a man among women. So those are the thoughts that I wanted to share today. I'd love to hear from any of the men watching. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings about this? And I would love to hear from the women as well. What do you think and how do you feel as you hear me sharing all of this? Is it true? Is it not true for you? What else would you like to share? So feel free to leave that in the comments below. I look forward to reading them. And I will see you in the next episode.